top sirloin, baked potato, asparagus, and good teaching. Not to mention, the soft drinks were flowing that night. Afterwards, Ken decided to go to the hotel restaurant and order a few more drinks with Crystal, while JR goes upstairs to talk to Olivia. We still could be something, Olivia said. Did you talk your dad into letting you transfer to Texas Tech? No, JR, I'm sorry, it didn't work out. Honey, you know I tried a long-distance relationship with Holly Hawthorne. It didn't work. Olivia bristled. Holly Hawthorne was a piece of trash. Acting all high class. I saw how she was with you. Making you look like some Don Juan while she was some crazy princess prima donna. That's why it's over, JR said. Maybe you and I can be something, but maybe not until years down the road. The next day, at 6 a.m., JR wakes up and tells the driver to leave. Ironically enough, Harold is left behind, and JR's daddy calls his daddy, a business partner, and says that Harold has to get to and from Miami on his own note. That Jim Hendrick was not going to waste any more money on a wandering wastrel to have a tour of pleasures. They arrived in Shreveport, but first, after the coach for the Ken came running from the back of the coach. Rand, get up, Ken said. And let's get some DP and share it, a couple of glasses together, because I'm angry at what Harold did last night. Rand said, yeah, I know. He had too much to drink again. JR said, damn it, not again. I called your father. He's taking care of it. Rand, pour JR one. And I want you to meet Crystal. Crystal emerges from the trailer in her nightgown with a slightly disheveled look. Listen, beautiful. Hope you didn't mind me asking your dad if I could take you for a few days. And I can't guarantee how good an adventure this could be. I might just have to enjoy the rest of the fun we had in prep school up in Baton Rouge, but I'll get to see him more often. Crystal looks at him and kisses him. I appreciate your honesty. You've always been a good man. I can see that. I think we all can, Crystal, JR said, drinking his Dr. Pepper. Hey, Rand, what's up? Did JR get his briefcase? Forget about the briefcase, Ken said. What are you going to do when we arrive in Shreveport? Take a taxi to Baton Rouge and then fly to Charlottesville. That's where Antonio and I are going to school. They arrived at Shreveport at 7 a.m., but with bad news. A fender on JR's car was bent. They managed to get it as far as a town halfway, where JR's father called the charter coach service and demanded that they pay for the repairs on JR's car. At this point, they managed to get to Baton Rouge. The next day, July 8th, passed quietly. As well as the 9th. Except JR was able to get the briefcase he needed finally in Baton Rouge. Because you see, before they departed on their trip, Rand and some of JR's friends was up to the knowledge that part of what JR was doing, besides an adventure, was a political trip. So the supplies were phone, car, briefcase, and a laptop. Thanks to JR's dad, he had a cell phone. Ken was able to drive the car, and JR got a new laptop. All they needed was briefcases, and now JR and Ken had one. The next day was Saturday the 10th. JR and Ken took a trip around Baton Rouge via helicopter. The next day, JR went in for some political, The next day, JR went in for some political interviews after church. It was at this point that the 8th of July, on a Thursday, JR did observe a hearing in the House chamber. On the 13th, they went to a hearing in the Senate chamber. After the hearing in the Senate chamber, JR and Ken got into an argument because JR wanted more adventure, but Ken wanted to take a nap. It was at that point that JR bumped into Sally Bowers, and she was able to take JR swimming and on a few other adventures. The next morning, on the 14th, they drove to New Orleans. And that night, JR, Ken, and Olivia took on the riverboats. On the morning of the 14th, while JR was checking into the hotel for him and Ken was taking Crystal to the airport. Chicago's If You Leave Me Now was playing on the car radio. I had a wonderful time, Ken, but we both know I must return to my father. Ken's voice dropped almost flat, even sad. I know. You have a great strength inside you, but you're also a beautiful man, Crystal said. I was happy for a while. Now I'm kind of sad. But you have a beautiful way with words. For some reason, I don't want you to leave me. I'm not leaving you, Kenny. I'm going home. I want him to let you see me. He will, Crystal said as they pulled up to the aircraft hangar. He will. Ken motions to get out of the car. No, stay, Crystal said. Crystal walks up to the chartered jet and goes up the stairs. Martin is standing at the foot of the stairs. Please let me see her, sir, Ken said, getting out of the car. I promise, Kenny, Martin said. I want you to know I protected her, Ken said. I understand. The way I see things, you, JR, and I have become really good friends. Such good friends that we can see each other often. Wonderful and beautiful, Ken said. Tell JR, thank you for giving the book a thumbs up, and take care, Ken said. I will. The next day, JR found Ken talking to the desk clerk, Deborah. She was about the same age as Ken, and JR was kind of dumbfounded that Ken was almost talking to her in a romantic tone, like the gentle giant he was. The next day, the 16th, they met at a lounge on Bourbon Street to talk about the rest of their adventure. It was a wonderful time. Of course, on the phone was Brad. Now, joining them at the end of their adventure in Baton Rouge was a prep school friend of JR's named Frank Clinton. He had told JR that Karen Kreider had learned that JR was homesick and wanted to send a friend. As they talked about the trips to Montgomery, Charleston, Virginia Beach, Gettysburg, and back to Virginia Beach before going home. The next day, JR comes in from political interviews and sits down in his room. He's listening to John Gibson's Have a Talk with God when Ken walks in. Hey, man. JR gives a sigh of relief. Thank God. Where were you, man? I was just exploring the area. I'm your friend. You look kind of down like you need some company. Yeah, I do, JR said. You homesick again? Ken said. Yeah, JR said. Ah, man, please. God bless you. Please call your mama. I will, JR said. Despite all the adventure, I think I finally figured out what I'm going to study. Ken said, as a man of action, I gotta be honest with you. You gotta go for something like political science. The way you're going for this political trip. No. I want to be a motivational speaker. Maybe motivate people politically, but not so reactively. Good idea, Ken said. Hey, JR, we don't want to miss it. Two of us. Remember? The cemetery at nightfall? You're really serious.